Hey, you were saying? What did you say,
How
Jan?
the people will listen to that?
Oh, this is well. Hopefully, this is going to go viral, and you're going to be
I
world
hope so. Hope
famous.
so.
Oh, yes, especially your cooking brand. You must advertise your cooking brand a lot during the lesson, and yes, absolutely, and that
Yeah,
way you'll have some free publicity, nothing to pay, totally free, 100% free advertising. Just
yeah.
mention your
You
cookware.
know me, like I like
Yes, of
all
course.
of those things which are free. So
That's right. So
yeah.
you just need to announce your cookware a lot of times during the lesson. You see, every 5 minutes or so, that should be good. And that way you'll have a maximum amount of publicity and advertising during the lesson.
Yeah, that's true.
That'll be
Can
good.
imagine.
That's
How are
wonderful.
you?
Jan. Oh, ever so good. Thanks, Jan. By grace, of course, always.
That's great. Long time
So,
no see,
yes,
or
it's been a
no
long
here, no
time.
here together.
Long time no hear, no time no see. I imagine, you know, as they say, no news is good news. So business must be booming. Business must be ever so good. I imagine that you're doing
This
so
is
many
tricky.
millions
This is tricky.
profit. You must be, yes,
Exactly. Billions.
billions. Yes, soon to be trillions. So I'm not jealous.
Okay,
I'm just very happy for
yeah.
you. I'm not jealous. I'm just very happy.
So business
I
is,
share in your joy, you see. I
yeah.
just
I know.
share in your
I know.
happiness.
You're always so kind. I know.
If you're happy,
You're
then
always
I'm
so,
happy, you see.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Oh yes.
But business is okay, but as I've told
Yes.
you, it's still like tricky. So if you
Hmm.
you cannot choose, like because uh, there is like one rule
Hmm.
when the business is like running really good,
Yes.
it's tricky, and when the
Hmm.
business is running like bad, it's
Hmm.
tricky too. So there is
Yes.
really no option, like
Mm.
uh, when it's like okay, or when it's not tricky, especially like for those young
Hmm.
companies as as we are,
Mm.
or as we have. So there are still
Hmm.
a lot of things which are really bad,
Ah.
and which like have to be done better. Uh,
Yes.
uh, yeah, but there are like some things which are good too.
Hmm.
So it really depends, like, but those things which are
Hmm.
like good today, they don't have to be like good like tomorrow, and
Yes.
vice versa. So it's for like young companies as like are we have,
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yes. Mm. Oh, I forgot to send you the link to my YouTube page, so you
I
can
I think I think I have that link.
just in case I send it to you again because
Okay.
I looked for it and I couldn't find
I'll
it.
be
So I
your
thought
subscriber.
just to yes, absolutely, you could be a subscriber to my YouTube page, and I could be a subscriber to your YouTube page.
If you're sharing, like your jokes, then
Mhm.
I'll be, like the, I wanted to say the first one subscriber, but I don't know like how many subscribers do you have.
Well, I do have about half a dozen or so. No, no, a dozen.
Ah,
Oh, no, no, more than half a dozen. I have two half dozens, which is 1 dozen. Can you imagine? I have
really?
actually a little bit more. I think I have about 13 subscribers, more
Oh,
than a dozen.
nice,
Wow.
nice.
Yes, we're already in double figures now, double figures and growing. Yes, more,
Yeah,
more than a dozen. Yes.
you have to like just continue with that, like, and
Mm.
one day it will
Yes.
boom, and
Oh, absolutely.
then it's like 100,000.
Yes, it's only a question of time. Uh,
Exactly.
before it booms. And yes, that's really good. So that's really encouraging.
Yeah. Oh, also I overslept today. That's the reason why we started a bit later.
You overslept.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah. That's something was like I can't recall when was the last time I
Uh-huh.
overslept.
Yes. Ah, because
So
it's rare for you to oversleep.
yeah, it is. It is. It is. I have to say, it is. I don't have issues with waking up.
Mm-hmm.
I have like more issues with like going to sleep or something like that. But with
Uh-huh.
waking up, normally I don't have issues. But the
Mm.
last 2 days, something is different. I need to,
Mm.
like sleep more. I don't know why.
Right.
And like today I totally overslept.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not proud of me.
You wouldn't say
So
I'm not proud of me. You would say I'm not proud of myself. That is the way you would
okay,
say it normally.
of
So you
myself.
would say I'm not uh, proud of myself.
Okay, thanks.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's the reason. But
Yes.
like, could you tell me how's the situation in Bali?
So the situation in Indonesia as a whole, because at the moment I'm on the island of Java, not the island of Bali,
Okay.
and so the situation in Indonesia, well, now we've overtaken China.
With the numbers?
Yes, with the numbers, we
Oh,
have overtaken China. Before it was China.
and it's still growing.
Sorry, you were saying?
If it's still growing,
Oh, yes, exponentially.
oh really?
Oh, yes. And I mean, now we've overtaken China. We keep beating new records every day. We have more cases than the day before. So it's like growing exponentially, beating all the records. Before it was China that was the country with the most cases in East Asia. And now we have overtaken China. Can you imagine? Indonesia is now the country with the most cases in East Asia. But when you
And
think of
are
it,
there like some
yeah,
rules or something like that? What you have to do or what you can't do?
well,
Some permissions or
well,
something like that?
we've lifted the lockdown, so we don't have really any rules anymore. We're supposed to lift the lockdown in the middle of July because
How many days was the lockdown?
oh, it wasn't very long. It was from the middle of March, the 15th of March. So it went March. So April, May, June, July. So normally it would supposed to be just 2.5 months. So the middle of
Mm.
March and then April and May. So it's supposed to be 2.5 months in theory. Uh,
Uh-huh.
of course, in practice, it's such a soft lockdown that, well, it's almost like no lockdown at all. And then they extended it for an extra month to the beginning of July instead of the beginning of June. And then between June and July, they lifted the lockdown partially. So there was only half a lockdown.
Yeah.
So instead of the road being blocked on both ends, the road was only blocked at one end. So if people wanted to go into the road, they just had to go round the block and then
Yeah.
go into the road from the other end. So basically, it was like
Yeah.
no lockdown at all. And then the government said that they wanted to extend the uh, lockdown to the middle of July, and but it wasn't really followed because at the beginning of July, the other ends of roads were unblocked. So everything was unblocked from the beginning of July. So they didn't even continue what the government requested to go to the
Yeah.
middle of July.
But
And
I
so
can understand that.
now there's no lockdown, neither in practice nor in theory.
Mm-hmm.
So that explains why there's so many cases of the coronavirus, because
Yeah.
there's nothing really at the moment, which is
Yeah,
sad,
it's a
really.
bad situation. Yeah,
Yes, it's a
it
bad
is.
situation. But in fact,
It's bad, no.
sorry,
Yeah.
you're saying?
No, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, when I say that we have more cases than the than in China concerning the coronavirus,
Uh-huh.
and so in fact, what it is when you think about the numbers, okay, you have numbers um, like because China is 6 times bigger than Indonesia. If
Mm-hmm.
the numbers in Indonesia are more than China, then actually we're talking about more than 6 times more in total,
Yeah,
if you see what I
yeah.
mean,
So
proportionally.
it's like it's more in total, or like it's more like per capita.
Well, the total amount, okay, when you're comparing both countries, you have Indonesia that's more than China. But
Uh-huh.
if you look at the percentage, if the population in uh, Indonesia is 6 times less than China, and having a population 6 times less, they're able to overtake China. That means they have had proportionally, for each 100 or 1,000 members of the
Uh-huh.
population, the percentage is more than 6 times more
Yeah,
than.
yeah. Like in China,
Mhm,
it's not a lot of like people who are ill with
mhm,
COVID. I think at least
mhm. Yes.
they somehow manage it relatively well,
Mhm,
and they are like, at least from what I read or what I saw, because I'm not like really deep in this topic, so
yes.
I don't have a lot of knowledge about it, but at least from what I know, it's like
Mhm,
China
mhm.
managed it relatively well, and
Relatively well.
they
Not
don't have
not
a lot of
rela
cases
not
now.
not relatively well, but relatively well.
Oh,
Relatively well.
really?
That's
Wait for it.
yes.
Relatively well.
That's right. Excellent. Oh, ever so good, Jan. Just like music to my ears.
Like Luke, my
Re-
second teacher, was
hmm
asking me like yesterday,
Yes.
how about your accent? And
Ah.
if you have a British accent, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, no, no, he doesn't,
Mhm.
because like Luke is always trying to speak. He's an American, and he's always
Uh-huh.
trying to speak with British accent. If he,
Ah.
if he wants me to laugh, and then he's always uh, speaking with this accent. And I was like, oh, Walter doesn't have like such a strong accent. It's, like
Ah.
Walter, it's relatively without accent.
hmm
Uh, and
So he
I,
actually has quite a strong accent, does he?
yeah, he, he like if he's like speaking like naturally, he
Naturally, yes.
he doesn't have a strong accent. Like you would
hmm
definitely know
hmm
that he is like from the USA. You
Yes.
would I definitely hear that.
hmm
But if he's trying to speak, like with the British accent, he's really great at it. Like
hmm
he sounds totally as a British person,
hmm
and he can like do this British accent
Yes.
really really well. And
Yes.
then like he sounds as a British
hmm
citizen even more than you.
Yes.
And yeah, but like if he's talking naturally,
hmm
he's like you. He doesn't have
hmm
any strong accent, so you would know like okay,
hmm
he is from the USA, and it's the same. It's like with you. You
hmm
would or you can hear you are not from the USA
That's
probably,
right.
but
Mhm.
like uh, neither you or he, uh, like have a strong accent. So
Mhm.
that's
Yes, that's right. So, in fact, obviously, each country has its own accent. So, we have the Australian accent, we have the South African accent. Uh,
which I like, which I like.
you like the South African accent?
Of course, in it,
In it?
in
Oh,
it.
yes, in it.
All of it. Oh, fam, or in it.
Yes, you're a fan of In
Slugger,
It. Yes. And also, there's the Canadian accent, of course.
which is
The, the
like
Canadian accent,
what exactly?
it's like a mixture of French and
I I
English,
saw that. Yeah,
because obviously, as they speak French and
yeah,
English
yeah.
in their country, then the accent is like a mixture of both, you see.
Okay.
And one time, I don't know if I told you that I had a person who was convinced I was Canadian, and I had to show them my British passport in order to convince them that I wasn't Canadian.
Oh, I wouldn't think so. Like in you're Canadian. You don't have like
Uh,
an
I don't have a Canadian accent.
at least you like I wouldn't recognize that you
Hmm.
can speak French language too if you like wouldn't use it like
But
from your
actually,
English
that it
I
was
wouldn't
actually when I was
recognize it.
speaking French. It was when I was speaking French
Oh,
that people thought I had a Canadian accent. So it may not be when I'm speaking English, but
yeah.
when I'm speaking French, because there's a little bit of an English accent when I'm speaking French, then
Uh-huh.
that is why some people thought uh, I was Canadian, you see.
Yeah. Then okay, but I don't know you as a French speaking
Mhm.
teacher, so
Yes, of
for me
course.
I wouldn't think so like normally.
Of
But
course,
I
it.
can imagine that if you're speaking
Uh-huh.
in French, then
Yes.
I could think something like that.
Uh-huh.
So
So
let's see.
obviously, for you, it's difficult to realize, if I spoke French, you wouldn't
Yeah.
know if it was the um, Canadian accent or not, because obviously you're not familiar with the different French accents. So it wouldn't really mean anything to you. But of course, you can hear, obviously, when I'm speaking English. And so uh, that's how you can maybe hear what kind of accent I have when I'm speaking English.
Yeah.
What sort of accent would you say I have when I'm speaking English? Does it sound like a purely British accent, or can you hear anything
Mm,
else?
no, as I told you, like I don't hear like any like strong accent. I
Yes.
would say okay, he is from he's like British,
Hmm.
but that's what I would say. But I wouldn't be like he
Hmm.
like has a strong British accent or something like that. I would recognize it's not like an American English
Uh-huh.
or it's not an American accent,
Right.
but
That's
but
right.
that's
You can
that's
recognize that
everything.
it's not
Yeah,
American English, but you
yeah,
couldn't really recognize any extra accent other than
yeah,
the British
exactly.
accent.
It's like nice English. It's
Yes.
nothing bad about it. Like it's
Uh-huh.
pretty nice English and it's really like uh, nice or it's not so tricky to understand you
Yes.
and so on. So I wouldn't definitely
Hmm.
say that your accent is somehow strong or something like that. If I imagine like
Hmm.
strong British accent, or for example, a strong London accent, then it's
Yes.
totally different, and
Yes.
it's much more tricky to understand it.
Hmm.
But I love it. I love it. I
Yes.
love all of those accents. You know, like I'm always laughing about that, and I really like that, especially
Mm.
like London accent, and I like that.
Ah.
But yeah, but you uh, don't have some strong accent.
Yes, I have, well,
Right.
quite a neutral accent, um, because I come from the home counties in the UK. And
Uh-huh.
so in the home counties, it's like considered to be like a standard accent, like the Queen's English, the BBC English, the Oxford and Cambridge English. So the home
Okay.
counties, which is around London and in the southeast of England, so there isn't any strong accent. So it's very standard. It's like considered to be no accent at all, you see. So it is an
Uh-huh.
advantage, of course. It's a great
It isn't.
advantage.
It
It,
is.
it, it
It
is an
is.
advantage. Yes, it is. It
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
great
Yeah. It
advantage.
is. I
Like,
think so.
yes, people can understand me like directly, um,
Yeah.
without any difficulty, uh, with the accent, you see, which
Yeah,
is a
I
good
think
thing.
like for example, London accent or really strong British accent could be relatively difficult. Like for example, for the beginners on italki or
Mhm.
something like that,
Yes.
it's sometimes uh, relatively tricky. Like even for me, I'm not I'm not somehow good, like in English, but even for me after
Mm.
relatively long time, like of listening to different podcasts and whatever. Even for me, sometimes it's tricky to understand well
Mhm.
somebody with a really strong accent, and
Yes.
especially if the person has like some accent from how it's called, like Ireland.
Hmm.
No, it's it's pretty tricky. How
Yes.
is it, like with people from England? It's sometimes tricky even for them to understand like Irish people, or is it like okay and they are just
Oh,
laughing about the accent?
we have difficulty as well. I mean, understanding the Irish, understanding the Welsh, the Scottish, uh, maybe not as much, obviously, as a native level English speaker. I mean, obviously, they would have much more difficulty understanding these different accents. But just to let you know that even the British, I mean, the English, have difficulty understanding the different accents in the UK.
Hmm.
So just because we're British doesn't necessarily mean that, we understand all the other British easily. So it can be difficult for us as well.
Okay, and how about like the French language? Does this language like have a lot of accents too?
Well, it's
I can
interesting.
imagine like the Afro-American can
Yes.
speak a bit differently. It can be
Mm.
something similar to their English accent, but that's
Yes.
what I can imagine. But how like other people?
I mean, for the French, obviously, there is Creole, which is like a dialect. So obviously, I can't understand Creole, which is a mixture of French and the native African languages of countries
Yeah, I,
which
I
speak
think I
French.
think we were talking about it in the
Yes,
past.
I
I
think
think
we
I
spoke
can.
about that
It's
before.
something
Yes.
with it with pigeons or something like that, isn't?
Pidgin English, that's right.
Yeah,
The
pigeon
Pidgin
English.
English, the English
So
that the
pigeon
that
pigeon English and pigeon French, or
that's right. There's Pidgin English and Pidgin French. So it's the English and the French that the pigeons speak when the pigeons are, tweeting amongst themselves. Uh, when the
and
bird, yes.
why is it like called like that? What's the reason for that? I can't
Well,
recall.
I think it may be something to do with the name pigeon, because I know that even for the Chinese way of writing, let's say, phonetic words instead of Chinese characters, it's called pidgin. And so I don't know exactly the origin of this word, but it seems to be a word to describe something that's like phonetic and or phonetically different and expressed in a specific phonetic way. Why they've chosen the word pigeon, I don't know if it has anything to do with pigeons. Actually, I doubt it. It's just the name that has a resemblance, but I don't think it has anything to do with pigeons. I can't see the resemblance. And so
what's typical for pigeons? Like they are
so
they are like eating a lot, and then like they are. Oh, I don't want to be vulgar.
Oh, I see. The characteristics of pigeons, of what they like doing. Oh, it's true. They're always eating, always, flying all over the place, and
and I wanted to say something, but I don't
like
know how
pooping.
to say.
You mean like
Yeah, exactly.
pooping?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's a nice way how to say.
that's a nice way of saying
I
it.
didn't know, like how to be
Yes,
not vulgar and
that's
say
true.
it.
The pigeons, they poop all over the place, and of course, when they're flying above some people, you need to be careful not to look up when there's a pigeon flying overhead, because you might have an unpleasant surprise dropping on top of you. You see, as you're looking up.
Yeah. It's true. So I would be. I'm not sure if I would be glad if anything I'm doing
Mm.
would be somehow like similar to pigeons or something like that.
Yes.
So
So it is
yeah,
very
so
special. Now, the thing with the French accent, sometimes it's just certain words that change. Now, for example, if you look at the south of France, okay,
okay.
they have a way of
So you mean like
pronouncing.
Leon, Marseille, and so on?
Well, Lyon isn't really on the south coast. I mean, what is really on the south coast? Like Marseille, yes. And it's especially in the southwest, which is just above Spain. And they have a way of saying the letter N, which instead of saying it normally, like the letter N, they say Ng, or
Uh-huh.
rather Ang. And so you just need to be familiar with that, that whenever you hear ang, it means that they're saying the letter N. So
Okay.
in fact, it's quite easy to understand them once you know these basic things. For example, instead of saying the name of the southwestern city, Perpignan, which is the normal way of saying it, they would say Perpignan, Perpignan. You see,
Yeah, but it's still relatively similar. So
it's reasonably
it's not
similar, yes.
okay. And
And
this is
actually,
the Creon
no,
French.
no, no, no. This is not Creole. This is just a regional
Creon.
accent. Oh no, 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 no. Oh,
Oh,
Creole. That, I
okay.
mean, that's much more complicated. There, it's actually different words altogether. It's not the same word spoken differently.
So
There,
it's tricky to understand
oh,
the
very. I can't
Creole.
understand Creole. I mean, maybe one or two words in a whole
Okay.
sentence. And again, I'm not even sure understanding one or two words in the whole sentence. Sometimes nothing at all. Whereas with, Perpignan instead of Perpignan, well, I mean, that's quite easy. But I do remember when I was with my mum in the south of France, we were going on a gastronomical tour. Have you ever heard of a gastronomical tour, Jan?
Unfortunately not, but I can imagine what it is. And
Well,
I've never been to something like that.
You've never been on a gastronomical tour. I mean, you know what gastronomy isn't?
Of course.
Of course. I mean, you're in the business of gastronomy yourself.
I can imagine, like what the tour is or how does it look, but I've never been to.
A gastronomical tour is like we're going to all the different restaurants, and it was in the south of France, from the southwest of France to the southeast.
You bought you bought it like a completed package or something like that, which was called like gastronomical tour, or your mother was like, we will do.
Exactly. My mother said, we will go, and she rented a car, and she drove this rented car, and so we were totally free. It wasn't a package at all. I mean, it sounds like it when you talk about a gastronomical tour. That's just the way I call it, because basically all we did was eat. That was our favorite hobby, activity, interest, pastime, sport.
Yeah, that's really nice. How many restaurants did you?
Sorry, you're saying?
How many restaurants did you visit?
Oh, wow. I mean, it was a different restaurant every day and a different restaurant every meal. So you can, we spent, at least 3 weeks, maybe 4. So you can, yes, you can imagine we were into dozens of restaurants, literally.
How old, were you?
Oh.
Or when it happened?
I was still quite young. I mean, it could have been like in my 20s, in my early 20s.
A
little bit after my university studies.
So 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, exactly. Not very long ago. I know you always like to portray age in the best possible way. I know you like to be very positive concerning age. Yes.
Either or I just like to joke about it.
Yes.
So there are 2 options.
Yes, of course.
You can choose which one is more comfortable for you.
Which one is more comfortable? That's right.
But it's pretty good idea.
Yes.
Gastronomical tour. That's something what I definitely have to do sometime.
Oh, you must do that. Oh, it's wonderful. And so when we arrived in Perpignan, you see, and we wanted to, have a hotel room there, to book a hotel room. The person at the reception asked the question if we would like a bang. And so my mother said, no, definitely not. We don't want a room with a bang. Because my mum, she doesn't like loud noises, you see. So she doesn't want a room where there is bangs, you see.
Yeah.
And so the person in the hotel said, well, I'm sorry, all we have available at the moment are rooms with bangs. My mother said,
it was like a bathroom, wasn't it?
Exactly. Oh, your French is good. Oh, very good, Jan.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Yes, you understood that instead of ang, you just say the letter N, like an.
No, but it's
is a bath.
Similar to Italian language.
Really? Oh, like Italian.
Yes. I'm not good at that language, but in one of my courses was exactly like how to say like a bathroom. I think it was something like banya or banya or something like that.
Yes.
I have to check it. I'm not sure about it.
You have a good memory.
It was really similar to that.
Wow, that's really good. And that's exactly what she was asking the person at the reception, if it was all right for my mother and myself to have a room with a bath, you see, rather than a shower.
Yeah, it's baño.
It's normally
Baño.
it's bain. That's the way to say it normally in French, bain. But with
Uh-huh.
the accent of the south of France, it sounded like bang. And my mother said,
Yeah.
"But how come your rooms have bangs? Uh, this is supposed to be a quiet hotel. According to the tourist information guides, they say this hotel is especially quiet. So why do you have rooms with bangs in them? Uh, I don't want to have a room where I wake up in the middle of the night with a bang.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how many cities, did you visit, or not how many cities, but which like particular city you can recall what was for you like the best? Can
Well,
you recall something like from the tour? Or...
it's difficult to say which ones exactly were the best because obviously all of them were quite amazing. So I really enjoyed all of the cities. Uh, I think, obviously this incident in Perpignan with a bang. I mean, that was one of the most amusing ones because, I mean, this conversation went on for quite a while because my mother wanted to know why the rooms had bangs in them, why they were so noisy. So,
Yeah.
so this went on for quite a while and it was quite funny, really. So we also visited a wonderful place in Marseille
Mm-hmm.
where there was a building built by a very famous architect,
Yeah.
and it was La Cité. Was it La Cité Moderne? I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the name, but it
Okay.
was a really famous place.
It was
And
like the old Marseille, the old Marseille,
yes,
the old
and
typical Marseille.
yes, and oh, are you familiar with Marseille?
No, no, no. I know, but I heard that it's, or I can imagine it's a bit different than what it was like. I don't
Hmm.
know, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So the
And
world is changing.
yes, that's true. Absolutely. And I'm trying to think of the name of this city, La Cité Moderne, Modèle. Um, I'm trying to find the person who did that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was a very famous building because it was not just like a block of flats, but it
Okay.
was quite revolutionary at the time because uh, they had sort of like on the ground floor and on the um, intermediary levels, they had like businesses and shops, you
Yeah.
see.
Uh-huh.
So it was very original because normally a residential building is only for living in. You don't have lots of businesses and shops in a residential building. I mean,
Okay.
in those days, they didn't have.
What it was like? It was like a mall, or it was like everything together at the
Well, it
same.
was a bit like a mall because there was one level where there were nothing but shops and services and
I'll
businesses. So
try to find it. Like
yes,
Marseille. Uh,
um, so I think it's a name like La Cité Illustre, um, something like that, and it was revolutionary at the time because they didn't have uh, that before, so it was really original, and it was really um, one of the first times, and so this person, became really famous for that.
okay. And
Yes.
here is like some city. Oh, I don't know how to read that, but
Mhm.
it's spelled like Radieusse.
Ah, la cité radieuse.
Yeah. Is it that or
Oh, Corbusier.
it's not?
Yes, Corbusier. I remember the name of the. You found it. Oh, wow, that's it.
So
Yes,
so
I recognize it.
that's it.
Yes,
That's it.
that's it. You found it. Oh, that's
Okay.
amazing.
So
Oh, Jan,
it
I'm
it
so
has like
impressed. It's Le Corbusier.
it's
That's
pretty
right. The
nice.
the
Yeah, like
architect
Corbusier.
is
Yeah,
Le
La
Corbusier
Cité is
because I
1945
yes,
till
1945 it was built.
1953.
Wow.
So
Can you imagine
it's
that?
nice, like some colorful, like
Uh-huh.
windows or was that.
Yes, I mean this was like really revolutionary for the time.
Interesting. Oh, I like, like what's on the top of, like there is a swimming pool. It's
Yes,
really nice.
it's absolutely amazing. La Cité Radieuse. I knew it was a city or something. So you had the good idea of putting in the word cité and then the name of the
Yeah, yeah,
city,
I wrote,
Marseille
like Marseille,
and
and then I wrote
cité.
La Cité, and
Wow,
the first thing, like which came up was
that
this.
is amazing because you see, I
Uh,
never thought of putting in the name of the place. I just put La Cité, and I was trying to find lots of different cités, like modern, model, like a model city. Uh,
so you were trying to find
I
it
was
and
trying to
it
find the
wasn't
same time,
able.
but you beat me
Really?
to it, and that's
Oh,
amazing.
because Walter, as you know me, like I procrastinate a lot at my work, and I think I can find everything on the internet, like
I think you
everything.
can. I believe you. Yes, I'm really impressed.
This is just an example, even if you have some more tricky, like things
Uh-huh.
to or you would like to find, just
Oh, yes,
like
I
let
could
me
just
let me
ask
know,
you.
and
Yes,
yeah, and I
absolutely.
will I will have it in like in 3 minutes.
Absolutely. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. And what's interesting as well, do you see that it's like propped up on like pillars? You see that it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just standing, I mean, directly with the foundations. You can actually walk underneath it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah.
propped
I
up
saw
with
that.
these columns. I mean, those
Yeah,
columns must be ever so strong, enabled to prop up a whole building. It
yeah, that's
supports
true.
the whole
That's true.
building. I mean, that is a.
Partly, it's connected like partly like with
Mhm.
the whole foundation, but the
Yes,
major the major part is like as you're saying with
yes,
some kind of
propped up with pillars,
crystal.
and it's such a big building as well. It's not a small building. This is not like your
It's
little.
huge. It's huge.
It's huge. I mean, it's like a skyscraper. And I mean, when you see that and you think to yourself, wow, I mean, there's so many revolutionary things here. The fact that it's propped up on these pillars.
Yeah, it,
The,
it 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 looks like a bridge, like a little bit like those pillars. It's
yes,
like a building on a bridge
it's like
or
building on a
something like that.
bridge. Exactly. Can you imagine? But a bridge isn't as heavy as a great big building on top of it.
Yeah.
So
So you can
this,
live in this building,
of
or
course,
I think
absolutely.
yeah. And was it like expensive, or was it something like
Well,
the best
no,
building in Marseille? Or
we didn't stay there. I mean, I thought you were asking the question: is it possible to live there? No, of course. No,
I
we
mean,
didn't
like
live
for
there. We
people
didn't
like
stay
for
there.
long term rent or something like that.
Yes, but I see that you can have a duplex apartment in that particular place.
Oh,
Okay.
you're checking it on the
I'm
internet
checking
now.
it on the internet for only 598 thousand euros, which is just over half a million. Well, I mean, nearly uh, uh, um, two-thirds of a euro. I mean, yes, no, two-thirds of a million euros. So it's nearly 600,000 euros for a
Oh,
duplex apartment. If you want to
it's
buy a duplex.
relatively low, but it's still
I mean,
like
it is
acceptable.
Marseille. I mean, and it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a very
yeah, yeah.
special building, which
It's
is
like
what.
in Prague for some better apartments. So
Yes,
still
absolutely.
acceptable.
Yes, it's quite acceptable.
What are the prices? Like in I don't know in France, in Belgium, in UK, if you want to buy small house or apartment, not in the capital, but
Well, that's
it's
a
tricky
good.
to say, isn't
Yes, that is. I see what you mean. It is quite tricky to say, but there are these price comparisons. So it's called the cost of living, cost of living comparison. And oh, I found it. Wonderful. Oh, you're going to love this.
it?
This will answer all of your questions. It's absolutely
Okay.
brilliant. This I really love. And it's the cost of living comparison. And so I'll send you the link and
Okay,
just
I'll
have a
check
look at
it.
this and tell me what you think. Basically, it compares all the countries in the world concerning things like cost of living index, cost of living plus rent index, groceries index, restaurant index,
Oh,
local purchasing power. Yes, lots of things. So you can
I
put
see
in
that.
your city and then another city you're comparing it
Huh.
with, for example.
Milan is cheaper than Copenhagen.
Hmm.
Dubai is cheaper than Seoul.
Hmm.
Yeah. Munich is cheaper than Amsterdam. Oh, which is something what I wouldn't expect.
Yes, sometimes you can be surprised that Copenhagen is more expensive than Amsterdam.
Uh, uh,
But
which
don't
place?
forget, Copenhagen is Denmark, it's Scandinavia, and the Scandinavian countries, they're quite expensive
Okay.
compared to the rest of Europe.
Oh,
Now,
wait a
if you
second.
were to do a comparison, for example, you like comparing with what you know, which is Prague, right?
Yeah,
That's where you're
yeah,
living
yeah.
now, Prague.
I'm
Okay.
compared to that.
So Prague in the Czech Republic. Now, which country would you like to compare it with? I mean,
Oh,
which
wait a
country,
second.
city, which city, which city?
Uh, I put there Prague and Marseille.
Marseille, right. This should be
Oh,
interesting. Prague
Marseille
and
is,
Marseille.
like 50% higher than Prague in
Yes,
consumer
right.
prices.
Which doesn't surprise me
Oh,
because Prague
rent
is not
rent
very
in
expensive.
Marseille are
It's
10%
lower.
lower than
Wow.
in Prague.
Wow. This is
uh,
interesting.
yeah,
So
it is. It's sad. It's sad.
that's why
For me. For
that's
me.
of course I understand, but that's why you said it was not so expensive in La Cité Radieuse of Le Corbusier in this revolutionary building
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have a place to rent which is so famous. I mean, this is a
Uh-huh.
real tourist attraction, and it's even lower than in Prague. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, but it's if you see like the prices, for example, yeah, the Coke, like for like if we are talking about 0.33 liter,
Yes. Hmm.
it's I think the prices. I don't know. It doesn't like answer well. Uh,
Hmm.
but it's like yeah, because 1.33 euro.
Yes.
Uh, in Prague, it's too much. You can buy, like a can of Coke, like for
Of course.
I don't know, like 20 cents or something like that. And
Twenty
I'm
cents. That's brilliant.
but I think like it's the same like in Marseille. If you know where to buy it, if you are not
Oh,
buying,
that's of
like
course.
in the places in like for tourists,
That's right.
then I think it will be the same. But cappuccino,
Mm,
it's like yeah, it fits like it's 2.18 euro, which is
mm-hmm.
correct. In Marseille,
Yes.
it's like
Hmm.
2.35 euro. A beer,
Right.
yeah, a beer uh, for
And if you look
Czech
right at the
crowns.
bottom
Yeah.
of the survey where it says
Uh-huh.
buy apartment and the price for buying an apartment, you are looking at square meters
I
to
like
buy
that
the
there's
apartment.
the whole list, like
Yes, there's a
a
whole
milk,
list.
rice, eggs,
Absolutely
local
everything.
cheese.
I tell you,
but
this is very complete,
love
and this
it.
is all
Oh,
the
really?
major cities of the world. So you can really compare not only country by country, but even city by city. So this will be
Wow.
very useful for you, Jan, when you next want to travel. So you will be able to choose which place to go to. Also,
Childcare,
taking
salaries,
into
and
account the cost.
financing.
Yes, even childcare.
Yeah.
And if you look at the square meter when you're buying an apartment either in the city or outside the city, you're asking me which is more expensive, Prague or Marseille. You can have a situation where it's like per square meter in Prague, it's over 5,000, whereas in Marseille, it's only a little over 3,000, like 3,200. So that's
Yeah.
quite a big difference. And when you look at outside the city, then it's actually a bit closer. Then it's about 3,500 per square meter for
Yeah.
Prague and just over two and a half
Is
for
there like some total like comparison or something like that?
a total comparison.
Yeah,
Well,
because it seems to me like it's relatively similar, like Prague and Marseille in those
you
things.
you think so?
I
Yes.
yeah, if I'm checking the prices, like something is uh really different.
Hmm.
Like in total, I
Oh,
would guess
we do have a total.
for some student or something like that. If you are not really
Yes.
like every day in a
Uh-huh.
restaurant or something like that, I would say like
Yes.
the prices can be relatively
Different.
similar.
Of
It will be like
course.
higher in Marseille,
Uh-huh.
of course,
Yes.
but
Actually, we do have, if you look right at the bottom, okay, there's a bar chart, and there we have
mhm.
the cost of living index,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
current, up to date by city. And you see that Marseille is 76.52 when you put
yeah,
your arrow on it, and Prague is 50.81. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
means that Marseille is more than three quarters compared to 100%, and Prague is only a little over 50%.
yeah,
Can you see
yeah,
that?
yeah.
And the one that's 100%, of course, is New York. New York, New York, so good they named it twice. I love it. And so that one is 100% because New York is the
Yeah.
most expensive one, you see.
Yeah, yeah, it's I wrote here like Prague, and it's comparing to New York, and
Hmm. Oh, Prague is about
cost
half
of
the price.
cost
Half
of
the
yeah,
price,
yeah,
yes.
exactly 50%,
Uh-huh.
but like the rent
Yes,
75%, almost 75%, which is
right.
unbelievable.
Mm.
It's amazing.
And if you want to
But
have roughly half the price of Prague, give or take a couple of percent, you have Delhi, which is 27.5%
oh
compared
really?
to just over 50%. So that's 2.5 percent more than half of the price of Prague. So
Yeah.
if you want to spend half of what you usually spend in Prague, if you go to Delhi in India, your money will go twice as far. You can buy
Oh,
twice as much with your money in India. Interesting.
that's yeah. That's nice. That's nice. I'm
Mm.
not like comparing to some Italian cities.
Oh, yes. Let's take an
So
Italian city because you like Italy. Which is your favorite Italian city?
I don't know. It's tricky to say, but let's write there. I don't know. Like for example, Rome. To have
Rome,
it
the
like
capital.
capital against capital.
Yes, it's always better capital against capital. Rome in
Oh,
Italy.
nice.
And what
Everything
do
is
they
like
say when you compare
uh,
it? Oh, everything is higher than Prague. Oh, wow.
exactly. That's nice. That's
That's nice. Oh, you're happy about
nice.
that. You feel
Yeah,
that
of course.
you're paying less than the Italians.
Yeah,
But it does mean that if you
but
want
it's
to go to Italy, it's going to be expensive.
it's not so huge difference because, for example, Marseille is a bit higher than Rome. So
Yes.
on if you're on the cost of living index, uh, at the end
Yes.
of the like compare.
Hmm.
So
And it's in the restaurants that it's the biggest difference between Rome and
yeah,
Prague because it's
restaurants.
nearly 100% different, 99.67% higher than Prague. Wow.
Exactly.
But
But
then,
like the rent is relatively similar. Consumer
yes.
prices, including rent, relatively similar.
Mm,
consumer prices are higher 32%. So it is a lot.
yes.
Restaurant
Mhm.
is the biggest difference. Groceries,
Yes.
yeah,
That's
it's
because
higher.
Italian cuisine is so famous, you see, that they can put up the prices because they know the tourists will always want to eat some
Yeah,
real Italian food in
yeah.
Italy.
I can't understand why cappuccino is cheaper in Italy than in Prague.
It's cheaper in Italy. Oh, yes, it is. It's nearly
it's
50%
it's
less
it's
expensive.
maybe it's maybe
Wow.
like as we have it with beer, they have it with like a coffee
Well,
because
I
it's
think it's
something like really
yes.
typical. So
Uh-huh.
for us, beer you can have beer and like for
Mm.
$1
Well,
and
I think that
even cheaper.
yes, I think the reason is that cappuccino, because it's an Italian name, I think it must be typically Italian. And you
Yeah,
know
it
that
is.
if it's like made in Italy, obviously for them, they're drinking cappuccinos all the time. So they drink it like water, so it's so
Yeah,
common.
that's what I'm telling them like about the
Ah, that's
beer.
what you were saying
So
about
it's the
it.
same
Yes,
situation.
the same
You really
situation.
like here
Yes.
here like in Prague, if you are buying in supermarket,
Mm.
like then beer is cheaper than water. Like
Really? What?
almost. Some
Wow,
brands some
that's
brands like are
amazing.
really for example I don't know like
Wow, 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 wow.
10 oh not 10 cents like 20
Wow,
30 cents
that's
if you
amazing.
are buying some cheaper brands. So it's really cheap.
Wow, that's amazing. Is that why I know the Czechs they like their to drink a lot? Is it because of the prices being so low that if they have to choose between uh, beer and
I
water, if they're on a budget, it's less expensive for them to be drunk with
I don't know.
beer?
Like we are just joking, like about the
Yes.
price
Uh-huh.
of water and beer. But it's true that it's
It's
almost the same.
almost.
It's really similar. If you are
Yes.
really like buying some cheaper brand, it is at least the same price.
Yes.
But
Because when you look
yeah,
at the
it's
price, okay, for half a liter of beer, domestic beer, it's about 1.5 uh, euros.
yeah, but
Now,
it's like in a restaurant, So if you
yes.
really are buying in supermarket,
Oh,
it's
of
pretty
course, it'd be
cheap.
much
It's pretty
less because
cheap.
that is draft. Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's
So in a
pretty cheap.
supermarket, it would be
And
less
as
than
you were
water.
asking,
Yes.
uh, I think it's just because it's so typical for the country that we have
Yes.
some like
Mm.
uh, how it's called like brewery or something like that.
Brewery, a brewery.
Yeah, we have some
The
of them,
brewery
and
is when they make it.
uh,
So a
yeah,
place
yeah,
where
yeah.
they make the beer would be a brewery.
Yeah,
Yes,
so that's maybe the reason uh, of the
of the
of the
price.
price. Yeah, because
Yes. Mm,
it's yeah just typical domestical
yes. Mm,
drink. So
yes,
that's
absolutely. I think that must be it, really. Because when you actually look at the total, yes, between Rome and Marseille, it's very close, like
yeah yeah
174 and the other one 76%. That's only 2% different. But then Prague, 50%. I mean, obviously, there is a big difference because it's like Marseille and Rome are both 50% more expensive. You see what I mean?
yeah
You
uh-huh
have
uh-huh
to add an extra half of Prague uh, in the cost of living index to arrive at the levels of Rome and Marseille.
yeah. I can imagine like you would be able, for example, to find as a student. I can imagine you
Mm,
would be able to find a rent for almost the same price. But yeah, but I
yes.
think then like the daily purchases and so on, like
Pur-
groceries and so on,
Purchases, not
purchases,
purchases. You don't chase
purchases.
it. If it was the word chase on its own, then that would be chase like that. But with the
Yeah,
purr in front, which is the sound of the cat purring, like going, that's the sound of the cat when it's very happy. So you would say purchases,
purchases. Yeah,
purchases.
purchases. Thank you.
That's
So I
oh,
think like with the daily purchases, like small purchases, then I
mm,
think
hmm
it's really higher, like a lot. So
yes. Wow, well, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really interesting lesson. We were able to share a lot of things, a lot of information there. That's really impressive. So you're well equipped now for when you want to travel. You already know all the prices of the places you're going to.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for sending it like to me. I will
Mm,
definitely spend some time on that because it's really interesting. So
absolutely. And
thank
if
you,
you have
Walter.
the opportunity to visit Marseille, don't miss out on a little visit to the Cité radieuse of Le
Yeah,
Corbusier. So
yeah,
that's just like my mum and I, we visited this tourist attraction,
yeah,
and
definitely.
it's would definitely be worth having a look at because this was like really revolutionary in its
Yeah,
time when it was built.
yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you for today's lesson, and I'm looking forward to have next one. So
Yes.
wish you all the best,
You're
and
ever
yeah,
so welcome, Jan. You too. All the best. Take care. Keep well.
yeah.
Thanks also very
Thank
much for
you.
today's lesson and speak to you
Yeah,
next time. Thanks a lot,
yeah.
Jan.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks. Cheers. Bye bye.